Have you ever felt that your mind is no longer fully yours? That every scroll, every notification, every sudden thought echoing inside your head doesn't entirely belong to you? You wake up, and before your eyes even open, your mind is already full. Voices, images, impulses, unfinished tasks. 1,000 fragments pulling you in every direction, fighting for the same light of your attention. You think you're choosing, but in truth, you're being chosen. Again and again, by the loudest frequency. Whose voice do you hear when the screen finally goes dark? Every scroll is a silent offering on the altar of noise. We live inside an invisible battlefield, not of weapons, but of attention. Every second, something fights to occupy the space of your mind. A brand, a feed, a worry, a craving. The modern war doesn't aim to wound your body. It aims to occupy your perception. You don't see it because it's not outside. It's inside your nervous system. It speaks through dopamine, urgency, and the quiet panic of missing out. We call it connection, but it's more like possession. You are not connected. You are constantly open. Distraction is not harmless. It's psychic erosion. You feel exhausted, not because of effort, but because of exposure. It's the fatigue of a temple with no walls. Your mind, once sacred, has become a marketplace. Everything enters, few things leave, and every visitor leaves a trace, an emotion, an image, a thought that is not yours. Imagine your mind as a silent temple. Now imagine thousands walking in, shouting, selling, leaving dust and noise. You used to guard that temple with intention. Now you keep its doors open for everything that asks for a second of your attention. Once, your mind was sacred. Now, it's a market, and you became the vendor, selling your attention for free. Every thought builds a temple or opens a gate. In hermetic teaching, the first law says, the all is mind. Everything begins within it. Every emotion, every belief, every act of creation. He who governs his mind governs reality. But in the modern age, that governance has been outsourced. When you lose mastery of your mental field, you lose sovereignty over your world. That's the new slavery, psychic dependency. No chains, no prisons, just loops of attention that keep you feeding what drains you. You think you're free because you can choose what to click. But freedom isn't choice, it's presence. And presence has been the rarest luxury of our time. The true war of the initiate is not fought in the streets. It's fought in silence, inside the corridors of thought. It's a war without banners, without sound. It looks like you, thinks like you, and speaks through your impulses. If you don't guard your mind, someone else will live in it. You are not weak. You are untrained. No one taught you how to guard your field, to observe thoughts like sentinels at the gate, to cleanse your perception as the alchemist purifies metals. And so, without knowing, you walk exposed, wondering why you feel drained, why your peace leaks even on quiet days. But the moment you become aware, the war changes. Awareness itself is the first weapon, because awareness ends manipulation. The initiate is not the one who escapes the world. He is the one who walks through the noise without losing his rhythm. In every era, a few learn to shield the mind, not through isolation, but through inner architecture. The shield of the alchemist is not made of metal. It is made of attention, silence, and rhythm. Each of these is a secret gate that protects what is sacred inside you. Silence is not emptiness. It's architecture. That's what you'll receive here. 12 secrets the ancient initiates used to build the mental shield. Not a fortress of fear, but a geometry of clarity. 12 laws that preserve your energy, cleanse your field, and return sovereignty to your consciousness. If this message found you, it means the field recognized you. You didn't stumble upon this by chance. The code of remembrance brought you here. From this point on, every word will act as a key, unlocking chambers within your mind, revealing how to rebuild the temple from within. The war is not ending. It's only now becoming visible. And when you see it, you can finally win it. The first step of initiation is not awakening, it's protection. Maybe no one ever saw what you've been carrying. Maybe you've walked for years, holding questions no one could answer. You didn't find this by accident. Messages like this aren't pushed. They're pulled by the resonance inside you. And if something deep moved you, if this felt more like a memory than information, it means you've always carried the key. We're about to reveal what has always been waiting for you. And from this moment on, there is no return. If you felt something vibrate within you, click like right now. That gesture is your "I'm here," a sign that you too are listening with your soul. And through that one act, other seekers, just like you, may find their way back home. And if you're ready to walk further, touch the subscribe symbol below and join this living temple of conscious creators, rewriting reality from its true source. What does it truly mean to be an initiate today? Forget the image of robes, temples, and hidden orders. The modern initiate walks unseen, in the crowd, in the noise, in the chaos, but his gaze is different. He moves through the same world as everyone else, yet he's no longer hypnotized by it. He sees patterns where others see coincidence. He feels energy where others see emptiness. He observes thoughts as movements of the weather, not as commands. To be an initiate is not to escape the world. It is to walk through it without losing your axis. It is to remember every day that the true temple was never built of stone. It was built of perception. The Hermetic masters taught that initiation begins the moment you recognize the invisible architecture behind events. You begin to see how the same principle repeats in every layer of life, in your emotions, in your relationships, in the structure of society itself. Everything corresponds. Everything reveals something about the mind that created it. And so the initiate stops chasing symptoms. He starts decoding causes. He understands that the external world is only the outer surface of his inner state, that the chaos he sees is a mirror of the confusion he still carries. To be an initiate is not to collect symbols. It is to become one. Every gesture, every silence, every choice becomes a ritual. He is no longer a spectator of the sacred. He is its embodiment. The modern initiate no longer seeks belonging in crowds. He builds belonging through resonance. He no longer seeks power and control. He finds it in coherence. He no longer needs to be seen. He needs to see. You can recognize him by one sign: stillness. Not the stillness of apathy, but the stillness of presence. He speaks less, listens more, and moves with intention. He's not faster. He's precise. He doesn't react. He responds. There is a quiet fire in his gaze, a calm intensity that doesn't ask to be understood, because the initiate knows. To be understood by the world is often to be lost within it. His path is solitude, not isolation, a sacred kind of aloneness, where truth becomes audible again. He knows that every moment of silence is a training ground, that every distraction resisted is a muscle of consciousness growing stronger, that every temptation to escape himself is another chance to anchor deeper within. The initiate does not wait for signs. He becomes the sign. He doesn't chase divine messages. He listens to the patterns already unfolding in front of him. He no longer needs certainty. He lives in rhythm. There is a reason ancient schools called this path initiation and not awakening, because awakening can happen in a moment, but initiation takes a lifetime. Awakening opens the eyes. Initiation opens the will. Awakening shows you the map. Initiation teaches you to walk it. And the moment you start walking, the universe begins to rearrange itself around your intent. The initiate stops asking, "Why me?" He begins asking, "What is this trying to refine in me?" He understands that life does not punish, it purifies. Every obstacle is a disguised instruction. Every loss is an initiation in disguise. If you are here listening, something in you has already begun that process. You wouldn't have found this message otherwise, because messages like this are not pushed. They are pulled by resonance. The world may still call it coincidence, but the initiate calls it alignment. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right where the path begins. Now, look around you. Your ordinary life, your daily noise, your silent evenings. This is your temple. This is your classroom. This is where your initiation unfolds. In thought, in silence, in presence. Your mind is the altar. Your attention is the fire, and the offering is your awareness, moment by moment purified through choice. The initiate is not born through belief. He is born through discipline, and that discipline begins with one simple act: noticing. The moment you notice your mind wandering, the moment you reclaim your attention, the moment you choose silence over impulse, you have already entered the temple. Awakening begins in awareness. Initiation begins in responsibility. And this path, your path, begins now. Because the one who watches the mind is no longer a prisoner of it. You've already stepped onto the path. Now it's time to learn how to walk with mastery. The first map awaits in the pinned comment. There is a moment in every seeker's life when the silence becomes heavy, when you start seeing what others refuse to see, and it feels less like a gift and more like exile. You begin to hear beneath the noise, to perceive layers others can't yet touch, and at first, you try to bring them with you. You speak, you share, you explain, but they look at you with kind confusion as if you're describing a color they can't perceive. That's when you realize awakening is not immediately connection. It is separation. It is walking away from what was familiar, not because you reject it, but because you've outgrown its frequency. You are not lonely because you're lost. You are lonely because you found something others haven't remembered yet. The solitude of the awake is not emptiness. It is calibration. It's the silence between frequencies, where the soul tunes itself again to truth. Every initiate must pass through this desert, the interval between old worlds and new awareness. In hermetic language, it is the negredo, the black phase, where the soul dissolves the illusions that once kept it safe. Nothing outside makes sense anymore. The conversations feel hollow, the desires feel borrowed, and the systems you once trusted begin to look like stage sets built on sand. It is here, in this internal night, that your mind begins to purify, because when the noise fades, your own voice starts to echo again, and what was once unbearable silence becomes a sacred presence. Loneliness is the silence that trains perception. In the ancient mysteries, they said the gods spoke only in stillness. They never raised their voices. The world had to quiet itself to hear. That's why solitude is not punishment. It's initiation. It teaches you to separate resonance from interference. It teaches you to detect the difference between what moves you and what manipulates you. The more you listen, the more you see the subtle architecture of energy around every word, every person, every intention. You begin to feel the invisible exchanges happening in every interaction, how some words nourish and others drain. You realize that most conversations are not about truth, they are about noise management. And suddenly you no longer crave company, you crave coherence. You start to understand that connection has never been about proximity, it has always been about frequency. You can sit beside someone and still be galaxies apart, and you can meet a single soul across the world and feel an entire universe awaken between you. This is the paradox of the awakened one. The more he ascends in awareness, the smaller his circle becomes, but the deeper it grows. Every true connection after awakening feels ancient, as if recognition replaces introduction. That is why many initiates walk quietly. They no longer seek crowds, they seek mirrors. There's a sacred loneliness in the path, a silence that not everyone is ready to face. It's not about isolation, but refinement, a reduction of noise so the signal can emerge. And that signal is your essence, the vibration that remains when everything false falls away. The world teaches us to fear being alone because silence reveals too much. But the initiate learns to dwell there, to stay, to let silence cleanse the residue of every false identity until only truth remains. You stop fighting the solitude and start listening to it. You realize it's not a void, it's a forge. In solitude, the raw ore of your consciousness begins to glow. Every thought becomes visible, every emotion becomes a teacher, every doubt becomes a mirror. You start to see that the mind is not your enemy, it's your laboratory, and solitude is the fire beneath it. The hermetic masters called it the necessary exile, because before you can walk among men with clarity, you must learn to walk with yourself without confusion. You must befriend silence until it no longer frightens you, until it becomes your ally, until it begins to speak. It's in this phase that the initiate learns the first real protection, discernment. He no longer absorbs every emotion in the room. He no longer carries the pain of others as if it were his own. He learns to witness without drowning, to feel without dissolving. The solitude of the awake becomes strength, because it's the birthplace of sovereignty. The initiate doesn't resist being alone anymore. He recognizes it as sacred time. He walks into it as one enters a temple, not to escape the world, but to remember it differently. When you begin to honor your solitude, your energy reorganizes. The mind stops leaking into every distraction. The heart stops chasing reflections. And slowly, You realize you were never truly alone. You were being recalibrated for communion on a higher octave. What you call loneliness today, the ancients called preparation, because only the one who can stand in silence without trembling can hold truth without distortion. You are not separate. You are being refined. You are not lost. You are being summoned. So if the silence feels unbearable, stay. If the world feels distant, listen. Because the moment you surrender to the solitude of the awake, the first light of true connection begins to rise within you. And when it does, it will not just connect you to others, it will connect you to everything. If you're still here, this frequency is yours. There comes a moment in every journey when knowledge is no longer enough, when awareness must become structure, when clarity must take form, because consciousness without architecture dissolves under pressure. And that's what the ancient initiates understood. The mind, like a temple, needs geometry. The 12 secrets you are about to receive are not beliefs. They are frequencies, disciplines of perception that, when lived, create an invisible field of protection around your consciousness. Each one refines the substance of your mind until it becomes transparent, precise, and immune to distortion. Let's begin. Outer purification, the 3 gates of inner cleanse. 1. Observation. The first secret is seeing without reacting. Most minds don't think, they echo. Every thought that enters is immediately believed. Every emotion is acted upon, but the initiate learns to watch without identifying, to step back within himself and simply witness. Observation is the fire that purifies illusion. It doesn't fight thoughts, it illuminates them. 2. Breath. The second secret is the breath, because the breath is the bridge between the visible and the invisible, between body and spirit. Every time you breathe consciously, you reclaim territory inside your own system. Every inhale reclaims space from chaos. Every exhale releases interference. Breathing is the simplest form of alchemy, the transmutation of chaos into rhythm. 3. Silence. The third secret is silence. Not the silence of absence, the silence of mastery. A mind that cannot be silent is a mind that cannot choose, because silence is where will is forged. When you stop speaking to the world begins to reveal itself to you. When you stop arguing with reality, reality starts to cooperate. Silence is not emptiness, it's alignment. When these 3 are mastered, your perception clears. The fog begins to lift. You stop reacting to everything that moves and start perceiving what truly vibrates. That is purification. 2. Fortification. The 3 pillars of vibrational strength. 4. Attention. Where attention goes, energy flows. This is not poetry. It's physics. Attention is your creative currency, your most sacred resource. Every time you scatter it, you fragment your power. Every time you center it, reality bends around you. Attention is not focus, it's worship. Whatever you attend to, you amplify. Choose wisely what you feed. 5. Intention. Attention directs energy. Intention gives it purpose. Without intention, attention becomes a leak. Intention is the invisible compass that tells the universe what form to take. Every day, the initiate sets his intent not as a wish, but as a declaration of vibration. Today, I think with clarity. I act with integrity. I serve through presence. That's not a sentence, that's a spell. A conscious vibration that instructs reality. 6. Vibration. The 6th secret is the rhythm of your inner tone. Everything vibrates, but few realize they can tune it. Emotion is frequency. Thought is sound. Word is vibration made flesh. When you align the 3, feeling, thought, and speech, you become a coherent field. And coherence is protection, because nothing chaotic can enter a system vibrating in harmony. When these 3 are united, your energy strengthens. You feel less drained, less reactive, more centered. Your frequency stops fluctuating with the moods of the collective. You become a tuning fork for stability. That is fortification. 3rd, communion. The 3 keys of conscious relation. 7. Word. The 7th secret is your word. Every word spoken is a vibration released into the field. To speak unconsciously is to cast spells you do not mean. The initiate measures his speech not to sound holy, but to sound precise. He knows language builds architecture, and sloppy language builds distortion. Speak less, mean more. Every word is a hammer striking the structure of your own mind. 8. Field. The eighth secret is your energetic environment. You become what you frequent. Every person, every space, every feed you consume leaves an imprint. Guard your field as you would guard sacred soil, not with fear, with discernment. Ask yourself daily, does this strengthen or scatter my light? And remember, protection is not isolation, it's intelligent resonance. 9. Presence. The ninth secret is presence. It is the state in which awareness becomes magnetic. Presence is not posture or confidence, it's coherence in motion. When your inner and outer are aligned, reality organizes around you. The initiate walks into chaos and silence begins to form, not because he dominates it, but because he vibrates above it. When these three are alive, you stop feeling disconnected. You stop seeking belonging in crowds, because communion happens on the level of frequency, not numbers. That is communion. IV. Sovereignty. The three laws of inner command. 10. Rhythm. The 10th secret is rhythm. Everything in existence moves in waves. Even your energy. There will be seasons of silence and seasons of expansion. Do not panic in contraction. It's a phase of gathering force. The initiate doesn't resist the tide. He surfs it with awareness. He rests when the current withdraws and acts when it returns. Harmony is not constancy. It's rhythm mastered. 11. Limit. The 11th secret is the sacred limit. Without limits, energy becomes chaos. Boundaries are not walls. They are clarity. They define where your vibration ends and another begins. To say no from consciousness is not rejection. It's alignment. The initiate learns that protecting peace sometimes means disappointing expectations, but peace is the highest loyalty. 12. Love. The final secret is love, not sentimental love, vibrational love, the energy that unifies polarities and dissolves resistance. Love is the frequency where fear disarms itself, because nothing that seeks to harm can survive in the vibration of unity. When the initiate learns to hold love without weakness, compassion without loss of power, he becomes the living shield, untouchable, yet open. When these three unite, sovereignty dawns. You no longer react, you radiate. You no longer protect out of fear. You emanate safety by coherence. That is sovereignty. These 12 are not steps, they are a circle. They begin and end in awareness. Observation purifies, intention fortifies, love completes. When lived together, they form a membrane around your consciousness, a living geometry that filters chaos and amplifies truth. This is the shield of the alchemist, not built against the world, but built within it. It is not resistance, it's resonance. And once you learn to hold it, the world no longer overwhelms you. You move through it untouched, yet deeply connected. You become what the ancients called a luminous mind, transparent, still, indestructible. Write what echoed within you. Your insight may be someone's initiation. Knowing is not enough. The true initiation begins when the wisdom survives contact with the world, because it's easy to be centered in silence. The real test is staying awake in noise. This is where the work begins. Not in the temple, but in the traffic. Not in rituals, but in your daily rhythm. The alchemist does not live apart from the world. He refines himself within it. His shield is invisible, but it changes everything. It's not defense, it's frequency management. Let's bring the 12 secrets into movement, into your real, living field. 1. The morning reset. Before the world speaks to you, speak to yourself. The first 10 minutes of the day determine the tone of your consciousness. Most people wake up and surrender their mind before their feet touch the ground. They reach for the phone, and instantly, the war begins. The initiate does it differently. He pauses, he breathes, he remembers. The day begins inside me, not outside. 3 deep breaths, a short silence, a single intention. That is enough to seal your field before you open the door to noise. A clear morning is a shield for the entire day. When you wake with awareness, you become architect, not victim. 2. The noise of work is the modern battlefield of the mind. Deadlines, opinions, energy exchanges, endless stimulation. But protection doesn't mean withdrawal. It means inner precision. While others react, you breathe. While others compete, you align. While others rush, you hold rhythm. The alchemist shields himself not by isolation, but by rhythm. He knows that presence produces order. When he enters a room, coherence follows. When he speaks, chaos calms. Because vibration is leadership, you don't dominate by force, you direct by frequency. This is how the shield manifests. Not as armor, but as atmosphere. You don't block the world, you tune it. 3. The web of distraction. Every scroll is a choice of reality. Every click is a declaration of frequency. The modern initiate uses the digital field consciously, as a tool, not a trap. Before opening the feed, he asks, am I entering to express or to escape? If the answer is escape, he pauses, because the true cost of unconscious scrolling is not time, it's sovereignty. You can use the internet as a mirror of consciousness, to learn, to share, to refine, but never as a substitute for silence. If your inner silence is gone, no screen can restore it. The alchemist knows that the feed is not the enemy, it's the field, and he enters it with armor, attention anchored, intention alive. 4. Relationships and energy exchange. Every conversation is an exchange of frequency. When two minds meet, fields merge. That's why the initiate listens more than he speaks. He feels energy before he believes words, because truth is not what is said, it's what vibrates underneath. The alchemist doesn't react to people, he reads patterns. He sees pain behind anger, confusion behind control, fear behind distance. And in that vision, compassion arises, not weakness, clarity. He knows that projection is the language of the unhealed. So instead of absorbing, he reflects. He becomes a mirror, not a sponge. And that's the highest form of love. Presence that sees without drowning. 5. The discipline of solitude. The initiate keeps one ritual above all others. The daily retreat. 15 minutes of conscious withdrawal. No phone, no input, no noise. Just breath and observation. Because without solitude, perception rusts. Silence is the workshop where thought becomes gold. You can't hear intuition in constant noise. You can't receive guidance when the line is always busy. The alchemist honors solitude not as escape, but as recalibration. It's in solitude that you remember what belongs to you and what doesn't. What thought is yours, what feeling is inherited, what belief is still borrowed. That clarity is protection. 6. The night cleanse before sleep. The initiate resets his field. He closes his day like a craftsman closing a sacred book. He reviews without judgment. Where did I scatter energy? Where did I remain present? He breathes out the residue. He thanks the day, even its friction, because every friction refines. Then he seals his field with one silent phrase. Nothing enters my rest except peace. Sleep becomes temple, not escape, because even dreams are laboratories of consciousness. Application of the shield. When you live this way, you don't have to protect yourself from life. Life begins to protect you. Because energy obeys coherence. You no longer attract chaos. You generate rhythm. You no longer seek validation. You emanate certainty. The hermetic shield is not a wall. It's a frequency. It moves with you. It expands and contracts with your awareness. When you forget yourself, it thins. When you remember, it strengthens. It's alive. Because consciousness is alive. That's why mastery is not about control. It's about continuity. To keep remembering, breath after breath, that your mind is sacred ground, and you are its keeper. When you master that, you can work, love, post, create, walk through crowds, and still remain centered, because nothing external can invade a field ruled from within. That is living hermetism, consciousness as your constant environment. The alchemist does not escape life, he upgrades its frequency. There is a point in every journey when you realize you were never walking alone, not because others walked beside you, but because their silence was already echoing through yours. Every seeker who ever turned inward, every soul who ever chose truth over comfort, every mind who ever learned to listen instead of react, they're all here, not in place, but in vibration. That is the real brotherhood. The brotherhood of the silent flame has no name, no leader, no temple of stone. It is not found in groups, but in resonance. It doesn't recruit, it recognizes. You don't join it by belief, you join it by frequency. It's made of those who learned that power without silence becomes noise, that wisdom without compassion becomes control, that clarity without love becomes arrogance. They guard the invisible rhythm of the world, the pulse that keeps consciousness alive beneath the surface of chaos. They are teachers disguised as strangers, healers disguised as artists, architects of frequency living among ordinary lives. They walk quietly, but everywhere they go, the air changes. They don't try to convince, they simply vibrate truth, and truth rearranges reality on its own. If you've ever felt alone in your awareness, you were feeling them. The network of minds that choose coherence over confusion, that choose presence over reaction, that choose creation over repetition. This is the secret nobody tells you. When one mind becomes still, thousands remember. When one consciousness lights up, the collective adjusts its geometry. That's how evolution truly happens, not through mass awakening, but through individual radiance echoing across invisible threads. No initiate walks alone. We meet in the silence. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the breath. Now imagine thousands breathing with you. People you've never met, faces you'll never see, but all tuned to the same quiet frequency of remembrance. That's the field. That's the living network of the awakened. It's not theory, it's resonance. You've felt it before. The strange comfort in someone's words, the inexplicable peace in certain presences, the magnetic pull toward voices that speak without shouting. That's not coincidence. That's recognition. The flame meeting itself in another vessel. The brotherhood of the silent flame exists wherever a being chooses coherence in the midst of noise. When you choose silence instead of reaction, you strengthen it. When you choose empathy instead of defense, you feed it. When you remember that the mind is sacred, you expand it. Every act of awareness fuels the field. Every breath taken in presence keeps the invisible fire alive. And this is how the new world is being built. Not through systems, but through states of consciousness. Not through control, but through coherence. Not through crowds, but through resonance. The ancient texts said, "When two or more gather in truth, the fire remembers itself." This is that gathering, across distance, through time, through silence. A global temple with no walls and no hierarchy. A brotherhood of lucid minds rewriting reality from its source. You are one of them, and you've always been. The fact that you're here, listening, breathing with these words, means the signal found you. You were called not by curiosity, but by recognition. Something in you knew, something in you remembered. The brotherhood does not need your devotion, it needs your presence. Because each mind anchored in light becomes a torch that others can see through the fog. Your task now is simple. Keep your flame steady, protect your silence, act with rhythm, speak with truth, walk as light among noise. The shield you've built, attention, silence, rhythm, love, is not for isolation, it's for service, because a clear mind is not just protection, it's medicine. Every time you think clearly, you heal the field. Every time you choose awareness, you strengthen the collective pattern of lucidity. That's how we rebuild the world, quietly, from within, not by fighting darkness, but by becoming stable sources of light. And that light doesn't shout. It burns silently. It spreads through example, not through argument, through coherence, not through control, through love that knows itself as intelligence. Maybe you thought you were awakening alone, but every initiation is connected. We are threads of the same fire, remembering each other one by one. This is the meaning of hermetic brotherhood, not obedience, but frequency, not belonging, but resonance. A network of awakeners holding the architecture of consciousness together while the world learns to hear again. If you've ever felt the strange comfort of silence, the deep sense of home in truth, you've already entered this brotherhood, because belonging here isn't a decision, it's remembrance. You are not here to escape the world. You are here to stabilize it, to hold stillness where others panic, to hold clarity where others collapse, to be flame, quiet, enduring, invisible, and alive. And when thousands of such flames burn in silence, the night itself begins to remember the dawn. This portal has a sequence. Follow the thread in the pinned comment. Every initiation ends where it began, inside the mind, but it is not the same mind that started the journey. The architecture has changed. The silence has deepened, and what was once confusion is now geometry. You began this path feeling invaded, fragmented, drained by noise. You walked through the battlefield of thought, through solitude, through silence. You learned to breathe, to watch, to choose. You discovered that protection was never about building walls, but about remembering what you are. Now you stand at the threshold again, but this time you see differently. The temple was never destroyed. It was simply covered by interference. Every act of awareness removed a layer. Every breath, every silence, every choice rebuilt a column. Look within. You can feel it now. The structure of clarity taking form. A space that is not thought yet contains all thought. A stillness that does not deny sound, yet stands untouched by it. This is the inner temple. It has no door because it was never closed. You don't enter it by movement. You enter it by remembrance. The initiate does not go somewhere. He returns. He remembers that consciousness is not something he possesses. It is what he is. And from this remembrance, power arises. Quiet, unwavering, luminous. A power that does not seek to control, but to harmonize. That does not need validation because it knows itself. You have rebuilt the shield, but now you know. The shield was always light, not separation, but structure, not defense, but coherence. It doesn't protect you from the world. It protects the world through you. The world does not need more noise. It needs more stable minds, more temples that remember their purpose, more flames that burn silently. So walk as one who knows that the sacred is no longer hidden. It's alive wherever you bring your attention. Every gesture can be ritual. Every word can be invocation. Every silence can be prayer. This is hermetism in motion. To think with clarity, to feel with wisdom, to act with rhythm. The initiate no longer asks, "How do I protect my mind?" He asks, "How do I keep my mind sacred?" Because what is sacred protects itself. And now, you carry that geometry, not as concept, but as state. You've joined an invisible lineage of minds who guard the light through awareness, and you will know them not by name, but by vibration. You'll recognize them in the calm eyes of a stranger, in the quiet of a crowded room, in the rare clarity of true presence, because truth recognizes itself. This is the end of the lesson, and the beginning of the embodiment. You have crossed the threshold. The war is no longer outside. It has become mastery within. When you walk out into the world after this, remember, every sound you hear, every image you see, every word you speak, all of it responds to your frequency. The initiate does not react to the world. He tunes it. And the moment you forget, return here, return to silence, return to breath, return to the temple that breathes within you. The mind of the initiate is sacred ground. Guard it, walk with it, live from it, because the age of noise ends when enough of us remember stillness, and that remembrance begins with you. This is not an ending, it's the next threshold. Every video is a portal. The next one continues your path.